Welcome to the Message Recap, where we discuss the messages from the previous Sunday. We are in a new series called What Does the Bible Say About Blank?
Yep.
And the blanks are filled in from stuff that you guys sent in, questions you wanted answered, topics you wanted discussed about what does the Bible say about. And this week was the first one, and it was end times. So what does the Bible say about end times?
Yeah, that's like,
this is the end.
Yeah, you know, obviously had a chance to speak on Sunday, and I always love doing that. But I really felt, and you probably can identify with this, I felt like that was much more of just a teaching, like you're in a classroom, and it wasn't really engaging for life or challenging or drawing in any way. It was more just informational, and I felt like we got a little bit off topic of, kind of a timeline of, current events. Really has nothing to do with when Jesus is coming back. However, maybe it was a good idea to take a step back and to look at the whole thing.
I don't think it was off topic at all.
Oh, really? You
No,
didn't think so?
in fact, I wish we would have even spent more time on stop worrying about this. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
What do we do right now?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And the topic, which you guys know, the topic is so you could talk about it for 14 weeks. All of the intricacies of it, the seals, the trumpets, the bowls, the the stuff that, and those things are going to happen just rapid fire, and all this calamity on the earth and all that stuff. But the reason I thought it was off topic was because that really has nothing to do with the second coming. That's the third coming, or the ultimate end. That stuff has nothing to do with what we're looking for. When is Jesus coming? Because when people ask that question, when is Jesus coming, I think what they mean is, when are Christians going to be raptured? I think is the most that are on people's
Probably.
mind. So everything after the rapture seems to be off topic, but interesting when you're talking about end times. And we didn't even touch on the fact that the end of the age, when Jesus, the Olivet Discourse, was the end of the Jewish age, or is it the end of the age? And we didn't even mention the destruction of the temple, which started the whole conversation of Jesus talking to his disciples. He said, you won't see one stone. Well, that happened. We know when that happened. It happened in 70 AD, by the Roman army, and totally desolated everything. So I find it interesting that Jesus tells them, they say, look at this beautiful temple. And Jesus just comes up with this, it's pretty cool. Do you know that everything's going to fall apart? Everything's going to be destroyed? Then they walk across the valley, and they come to Jesus and start talking about, well, when is this going to happen, and when's the end? And I thought, well, is that two different questions?
yeah.
When is the temple going to be destroyed, and when is your coming? Is it two? I hope it's two, because
Did we miss it?
we might have missed that. And some would say that we have, and it did happen.
That's part of the view of...
yeah. Very, very complicated, but I think we made it pretty clear that there are different views. But the general view is the timeline we talked about, and that's the most Christian view. So anyway, to say that, did we say anything on Sunday? And
I think so. I think when people ask those questions, it's just because, my opinion, I don't really know much yet. I haven't heard a lot, or what I've tried to look at before is confusing. So explain it to me in a simpler, clearer, more easy to understand way. And I think we accomplished that. So.
Right. Or I've heard from other people, and I want to know if this is right or not, social media being what it is.
Yeah. When I first became a Christian, and then since then, all that I've learned since then, one thing remains the same, and that is we are in the end times. And because of Peter's first sermon, on the day of Pentecost, talking about the prophet Joel, you don't have to worry about interpreting that. He interpreted it. What you see here was spoken of by the prophet Joel, that in the end times, in the last times, in the end days, that this is what's going to happen. And so I don't think there's much argument there that kicked off the end times. Yeah. simple. But yeah.
I mean, there's so much more detail we can go over. But I
just-
told you this before Sunday. Like, I think it in all of Christian topics, this has got to be at the bottom of the list for me about ones that I
for that you care about.
that I care about.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know, that
I'm
I
with
care
you.
about, that I want to study. I mean, right up there with like angelology. Is that a word? I think that's the thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Angelology.
Like, I don't think I could possibly care less about any one of those
Yeah.
sorts of things. And I mentioned this real quick at the end of in-person services, but I don't think anybody online, I don't think it was in there. This idea of, I have seen, I know people who do this, and I'm aware of tons of YouTube channels. I don't read much into that sort of books and stuff, mainly because I don't want to spend money on something that I don't care about. But where their whole ministry or their whole Christianity is defined by trying to figure out and trying to predict the signs of when the end is coming. And, oh my gosh, did you know that were you telling me
Boy.
before something about if you add up the letters of Putin or something, like,
No, it wasn't Putin. It was Nero.
oh,
Nero.
I swear, maybe Putin was like a TikTok video or something.
I think
where
I've seen
people
that
try
one,
and like
yeah.
add up these letters and look, it means this, and if you follow this 7 back in Ezekiel, and like,
P is the X letter of the alphabet, and you add that to the
That's
I,
what
and then you add that to the
somebody
T, and then
did.
you take them all
Oh,
That's what
together.
somebody did with
gosh.
Nero, though.
Yeah.
I was telling them
Yeah.
that the letters of Nero, the Greek, there's a numerical number, in the Greek alphabet.
Right.
And to every letter, and then you add up the end, and it was 666. And, well, I know. Like,
no, it wasn't.
Well, so what? I know somebody who lives on 666 Elm Street, too, but, I mean, it means nothing,
The people who don't want to get 666 on their license plate, like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it means.
Okay, no.
But
No.
so caught up, and I think there's really 2 problems with this, like, being so concerned about end times. Number 1 is, so far, everybody who's ever predicted has been wrong.
Every one of them.
Every single person, I don't care who they are, how great they are, how much study they do, they've all been wrong. And I believe people on the outside, we lose credibility.
Oh, yeah.
It's, what was it, 88 Reasons he's coming back in 1988? Like, you know what? To a Christian, you lose credibility, but especially to a not, like, I can't listen to anything you say anymore because you're a wacko nut job, because you think that because Trump was elected or Biden was elected or COVID, whatever.
They're
Like,
the Antichrist. and
oh
they
my
have all
gosh,
these-
so many different.
Yeah.
And so I just stopped listening.
Yeah.
Turn you off.
Well, and not only that, but why would you stop listening? Because, and this is something we talk about a lot, what does it change or what does it matter?
Nothing.
If we're supposed to be doing something, if we knew Jesus was coming back next year, why aren't we doing it anyway?
Because he's still coming back.
Yeah, and and this idea that, well, somebody could die tomorrow and the end times ain't for a while. The whole point is it doesn't affect our Christian walk whatsoever. So I think that's where you're coming from. What does it matter?
It
Well,
doesn't.
obviously it matters in eschatology and everything that happens, but it doesn't matter for our lives.
No.
It doesn't matter. And another thing, when you were talking, I just thought of, and this is true with a lot of Bible studies or different theories, that because people come up with a formula or some secret and it makes sense, doesn't mean it's true.
No.
Because some of these things actually make sense. Like, oh, wow, that does make sense. And that does
Nero
make sense.
does spell 666.
Yeah. Wow, that makes sense. But that doesn't mean
what?
it's true either. I was thinking about one that, the Bible is really kind of a patternmatic. Is that a word?
I don't think so.
That sounds made up.
Okay. Of 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham and 2,000 years to... anyway, you go all the way up.
We missed
Jesus,
it.
2,000. Well, in about, and nobody knows exactly, but in about 12 to 15 years, it
We
will
could be.
It will be 2,000 years since Jesus left this earth.
Whoa.
Maybe. Because you can go 2, 2, 2. Is this the last 2,000 years?
And 2, and then that's 8, and you take away the Holy One, Jesus, and we're at the perfect number 7.
Anyway, when people start thinking that way, but I think hands down, not only did Jesus say it, but the apostles repeated it as a teaching, but Jesus couldn't have made it no clearer than this. that no one knows. The day that angels don't know. Even
Why?
Jesus doesn't know. But I've heard sermons on, yeah, they didn't know, but we have the Holy Spirit. And you could twist anything. Hey, listen, the point is this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Are you
seriously?
kidding me?
No.
People say that?
Oh, yeah.
To
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
that is like the end of the sentence. Look, if Jesus don't know, there's no way in the world I could possibly figure it out.
No. Or I'm going to find a scripture verse that says, but we can know. Jesus didn't know, but we can know.
That stupid Jesus.
Because
if only he was smarter.
We've been enlightened. We can know, but don't go down
What?
those roads.
I
Don't.
can't believe people really say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
boy.
But this won't surprise you, as you know, the world don't know, and no eye has seen, no ear. But you know, I mean, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, don't. That's making stuff up.
That
you
is.
know? And remember, always you start with the macro. And you argue to the micro. You don't reverse that, you know. So, what's the macro image? The macro thing is this: there is an end. We know, and that was probably the value of the timeline. There is a plan, and God's going to follow that plan. We don't know when it's going to happen.
And 3/4 of that timeline we should not care
We're
about.
not even
'cause
here,
We're not
you
going to
know?
be here for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to see what happens after we leave? Sure. Spoiler alert, I guess, but.
Why would you want to watch that? Although, for some people that would argue, okay, in a mid-trib rapture, you know. So, if they were argue that, I still don't care because if I know I'm in the rapture and things are so hard, I don't care if I save food. I'm not going to shoot somebody coming to get it. My goal is not survival. I know that I'm in the end
Because
let me die.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
What?
from day one, there's only 7 years left.
Yes.
So
What is it you want to live for? And that's some I kind of wonder about people who are survivalists. What are you trying to survive for or to? What's the goal? I don't get it. You know, it's like, well, if death was the most evil, worst thing in the world that could happen to you, then I could understand. But
for the Christian,
guess what? It's not. You know? It's not.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. You know, to be with him. Forever.
graduation
So,
day.
Yeah.
I just wish. I mean, outside of, okay, maybe you're a theology professor or something, and you're teaching eschatology class or whatever, or like just I don't know. I think there's very few reasons for the average Christian to be so tied up into end time stuff and so many YouTube channels. And like, I think this, if you look at end time stuff and your heart isn't moved to reach lost people, you miss the whole point. Like just information and no information or try and predict some unknown date is totally missing the entire point, which unfortunately I think is a lot of books and YouTube videos and people.
Like you said earlier, people have made a living. Jack Van Impe is one of them. I don't know if
Oh
he's
my
still
gosh,
doing it.
there's so many.
Spent 20 years, you know, his episodes, everyone's talking about end time. You've made a whole career out of something we don't know. And like you said, for some scholars, I'm glad that people study it and do that, but it's not for common day use or like historians. It's great. I'm glad there's some historians. We don't need to study every single thing about. Do we need to know the main concepts? Yeah, that's good enough. We know the main concepts. We don't need to know the detail of days and weeks and months, even in the past.
In lots of different things.
Oh, yeah, so
the
much.
Revolutionary War. You know
Yeah.
what? I should know some basics. I should
Yep.
know why it happened, what came out of it.
Yep.
But I don't need to know every battle and
Right.
every name and
Right.
what size musket they used.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
what a waste of time.
And
I mean,
how many
honestly,
airports there were. Right.
How many airports are
Oh, is that too soon for that one?
honestly, so much end time stuff. I just feel like Christians are just wasting their time.
Yep. Go ahead.
It's okay if it's not distracting them, which I think you made a great point yesterday.
Yeah.
It's okay to study it as a hobby if it's not
Sure.
distracting you from spending time with God, because it can't.
Yep.
Study can actually distract us from being with God and enjoying Him.
The Bible takes the place of God.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally.
Yep. I'm going to read the Bible constantly and worship it instead of God.
Well, that and other books and
Yeah.
studying and, like you said, YouTube, going on, checking out videos. and
I read all.
Thanks for watching on YouTube. I mean,
Not to
I read
slam
a
you
whole
two.
book just preparing for this week, for that whole message, and I read stuff that I don't care about, and why somebody would know, and all the different theories, and so I read this whole book, and I'm no different than when I started. Just the same concept of, all right, it didn't change anything. I know that there's a plan. I know he's coming, and I know I don't know when. So why don't we do what he's asked the church in the church age to do? Mm-hmm. Let's be the church, because this is our timeline. This is our time limit. We have a time, and it's not going to last forever. Mm-hmm. Interesting thing that since the early disciples, the very early church, the first century church, right off the bat, have been talking about Jesus is coming soon. It's imminent. In all of their writings and everything, it was imminent. It was imminent. It was imminent. And it was. And it still is. And that's the point. That
in view of eternity
and what God's doing. And it is imminent. For each individual, it is very imminent. It is very urgent. It is very do it now. Today is the day to put your trust in Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't changed.
Yep.
And who cares? And even Peter addresses, some people were saying that, some people were making fun of it. As a matter of fact, it's one of the big reasons why people don't believe the Bible is because of what Jesus said in that Olivet Discourse that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that whole Bible's not true because he said he was coming back and all these things are going to happen. And he hasn't come back yet. He said it would return as soon. He hasn't come back yet. Peter addresses that by saying, God is not slow as we count slowness. Mm-hmm. He's being patient that none would be lost. My personal view on this stuff is he knows the future, but he hasn't made his mind up yet. I wonder if the Father even knows, in a sense. Now, I know he knows all things, but this idea of, I'm waiting another day. I could have blew the trumpet yesterday, but I know there's people that are coming to me. I know that it will change their eternity. I'm waiting another day. And that's my view, that he's waiting another day. He's not following a timeline or a set of rules or numbers, or he's not locked into that.
Right.
Now he does know the day, but what I'm trying to say is that he hasn't set that date by some kind of formula. He's waiting. He's drawing.
After 4 periods of 2,000 years.
Yeah. So, hey, whatever. But don't get distracted is the main point. But it is cool to know. When I read some of Daniel's stuff, I think we can figure out. I think it has kind of unraveled, unveiled itself or whatever, so now we can see. But a lot of the Revelation stuff, everybody throws their 2 cents into what this means. I don't think anybody's going to know exactly what it means till it happens. That's what it means. Old Testament, there are prophecies about Jesus. Was Jesus going to come from
Bethlehem or Nazareth?
Or was he going to come from Egypt? Prophecy said he would come out of Egypt. Prophecy said he would come from, and so that's so confusing. But once it happens, you go, they all make sense. All of them are true. He did all of them. All of them are true. Yeah. And I think the same thing as, everything unravels. It all makes sense. But it seems sad. I don't even like reading the destruction and the death. There's a couple things in Revelation. We're off topic here a little bit, but that really hurt me, that the 144,000 Jewish evangelists are going to win a lot of people to the Lord. They are. A lot of people are going to get saved, thank God. But God's going to watch them be killed by the sword and be absolutely, murdered. There's a reward for that, and that it talks about they get a special reward and all that. But this, it's hard to, when we put on our human emotions God's total righteousness takes emotion out of the picture, where this is right, this needs to be done, and he allows evil to a time. When there's a time, he says no more evil. He's coming down. It ain't going to be pretty. Things like blood up to the saddle on horses. I mean, in the valley, and hey, it's not good. But remember, God is right and just. That's what I get out of Revelation the most, and that is this: God is holy. There is none greater than Him, and He is right in all of His judgments. Though that's what that whole discourse means to me.
Yep. I often think about like when you see these posts on social media and everybody talking about end times and what they're speculating and all this stuff and all the things that they're looking into. I always think of two questions that I'd love to ask. Okay, so now you know the end date, right? You know this information. What did that change in your life? And two, why did it change that in your life?
That's interesting because this gentleman that shows me all the volcanoes, all the earthquakes. So has it caused you to be more of an evangelist? Has it caused you to draw people? Have you been coming to church? Have you? None of that. It's just crazy. That is a great. The why.
But so what did it change and why did it change it?
How has it changed your life?
Yep.
Have you sold all your stuff and given to the poor and supported the church and been evangelistic? Or are you hoarding everything and been doing the opposite? Because, it's like, it makes no sense.
This is just like this information stuff sounds a little bit like just Gnosticism again. Just
just knowledge.
Searching mysteries and knowledge and special revelations and
yeah.
Too bad nobody wrote against that.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Too bad.
Or the false prophet problem.
Yeah.
Well, watch for false prophets. Really? Watch for false prophets. They've been here since Jesus left. Okay. No. They were here when Jesus was here.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hope that helped whoever asked that question, which there was quite a few that actually mentioned end times in their questions. Next week, we have a new topic. Show up and see what that is. See you next week.